Meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to our Village Council regular session. It's Monday, February 24th, 2025, 7 p.m. Will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a brief moment of silence, let Chad catch his breath. If you would, Kristen, please do a roll call.
Trustee Fields.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Reister.
Here.
Trustee Cox.
Here.
Trustee Kissinger.
Here.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Here.
President Frisbee.
Here. We have an agenda in front of us tonight. Everyone's had the opportunity to look at it. Mr. Mallory, were there any late-minute changes? Or?
Yes, we'd like to add a bullet point for 12F for an action item. And it's clarification. We're gonna ask for a motion, support, and a roll call vote that will give the village manager specific approval to sign the sales agreement of the industrial lot. That approval was given, I think it was August 19th, but the title company would like it specific to this paperwork, and help me, Christian, with the specific title company's name.
Nation's title.
Nation's title work, so we can complete that.
Hey, Jim, is it E or F? Because
F.
Is there an E?
DE.
I have an E.
As?
You do? We don't have any.
I have an E on village administrative staffing.
That's D on ours.
So we'll add that to, I know that was on the, oh, well, that's because we updated the agenda on a second email that came out at 12:40 Friday. And the agenda that was published has E on it.
So what is the E then?
The E is village administrative staffing. Village manager is requesting a motion
We've got
support.
that Z.
What's C?
So it looks like it was just a formatting change on the update, Jim, is that it is still the same
Let
number
me
of items.
make sure that,
Oh, missing a letter at the top one.
Yeah, it's the 53,000, that was the update on the two.
Oh,
Okay, so
yeah.
that's
hold on,
C.
hold on, what?
G.
No, that's part of the JR. That 53,000.
Yeah,
It is,
53.
but that's the formatting difference, is what it is.
Okay, what happened is you guys are looking at an original one that went out at 11:15. It was corrected at 12:40
Do you
by
have any of those?
email. I can,
Updated on the laptop.
oh, okay. And I'm sorry,
I'm
you
just
can
not
share
sure.
mine.
It's okay, it's okay.
Alright.
I'll be fine.
Okay.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I see what you're seeing, because I have the old one, that the 53,000 is B, then C, then D.
So just to plug that C in there.
So, yeah.
What was amended?
Support.
Any council additions? We have motion to support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have an agenda. We have no scheduled appearances and no public officials. Now's the time for citizens' comments. If anyone would like to address the agenda items. Seeing none, I just want to welcome Carl back. I see he walked in on 2 legs, so the surgery was a success. Committee assignments, thanks. I just got the last one here earlier last week, and I'll be addressing those and bringing them to the next council meeting for your all's approval, but you're making it difficult for me because you seem to all want to have the same thing, so Fortunately, we'll do this every year, so we'll try over the next year to share the love a little bit and switch up the assignments and. Oh, man, you're funny. And we have a general consent agenda. It's our minutes from our regular council meeting on February 3, 2025. Warrant reports, we have event requests for May 3rd, the pavilion for Pac Can. We have May 10th, Hardy Hustle. June 22nd, Pavilion DeVries Grad Party. June 28th, Pavilion Tyler Hawkins Grad Party.
And I do want to correct the total for the warrant reports is a little over $55,000 less. The warrant listing listed out the Michigan League insurance twice. It's I think it's $55,050, but it's
The league and league pool was listed twice.
correct, and it's only one payment at $55,000.
And I wanted to make note, the fifth item on there, D, is we have a correspondence from Craig Rolfe, attorney for the South County Fire Authority. Hope everyone had an opportunity to review that. So we have the general consent agenda. If there was no corrections or additions, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have motion and support. Would you do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Cox.
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger. Yes. Trustee Reister.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. We have a zoning board of appeals. We'll need a motion to enter into a zoning board of appeals public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll move into zoning board of appeals. Now it's time for open public hearing. Any citizens' comments? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion that this council has any discussion on
That'll come
what's in
after
front of us.
the
We'll
closing
close,
of
we'll
the
close
yeah.
the zoning board of
So
appeals.
we'll close public hearing. So moved.
Yeah, and then,
Support.
and now will be the staff, and then Mr. Keller will speak.
Yeah, well, we'll need to make a vote on the motion to
Wait.
close.
We will need a motion and a support and a vote within the zoning board of appeals, which is item number 4, and then you'll close it at 5.
Oh, excuse me. I
So
got
this
close-
in-
Closing public hearing.
Closing public hearings. And
The-
Retract my motion.
This involves 108 West Highway Street, reference a sign for a business moving to the location. It has been reviewed by our zoning administrator, Kyle Mucha, who's provided a 4-page document on the background, and concluding with the recommendation to myself that I'm passing along to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a motion support and ultimately approval of this request. Mr. Bob Keller, who represents the owner and developer on Highway Street, is here tonight. We did provide a hard copy to each of the council members, as he sent an electronic version of what he was going to talk about in front of you. So with that, introduce Mr. Bob Keller.
Good evening, thank you for having me today. I'm here representing my customer and owner of the L&L Driving School and the parcel there at 108 West Highway Street. We are moving to try and get their identifying sign moved from the location that's really the only suitable location that would adhere to the zoning policy, which is a setback off of the property line of 10 feet. The only way to make that possible would be to have it on the west end of the parcel. The obstruction, though, and our hardship that we are declaring for this zoning appeal is there is a massive tree in the neighboring lot, as well as the sign would also cast a substantial amount of light into the adjacent property to the west. The customer of mine has also gone above and beyond and talked to their customer, or the neighbor to the west, and they've asked for their support in moving their sign to the east part of the lot so that they don't have the excess light casting into their property and ultimately into their house. The caveat with that is that we would be impeding on that setback policy if we did move the sign to the east portion of the lot. The only possible issue with that would be if the house to the east would be opposing to that. However, the owner also owns that house as well. So both lots are not affected by this sign proposal. We've offered Murdoch Engineering to have engineered drawings for the pylon sign to go in that area, so it does prove that it is safe for a pylon to be within that setback area, which does include a walkway easement. So we have deemed this to be a very safe and profitable location for both the customer as well as the neighbor to the west to not have any interference with light casted from the sign, and also giving better visibility from both eastbound and westbound traffic along Highway Street. If you would like to see evidence of that support from the neighbor, I have a letter that is signed by the neighbors that you're welcome to see as well.
Yeah, Bobby, if you don't mind, if you just hand it up to the
Happy to.
council. The one drawing you have here, Bobby, shows it in the west side of the parking lot. Is that where it's at currently?
No, there's no sign there currently.
You know, you were just showing,
Proposed
Proposed.
legal conforming sign versus the sign that would impede the property. So if you see the other visual on the close portion or proximity to the building, where you can see the building in the photo as well, that would be the proposed location on the east side of the lot.
Do you think that the utility will have a problem? I see some utilities by there. Do you think
Sure.
that they will have a problem with your proposed?
This is gonna be a misdig situation too, where we will have to possibly be flexible. This is also being proposed to the customer and quoted as such for being a hand dig situation where we're not, or hydrovac. Either are viable options to avoid any utilities being hit.
I was thinking overhead as well. I'm just seeing.
We've looked, it's
they're clear.
close, but it's not gonna obstruct us from being able to install safely or have any issues with those communication lines that are there.
Thank you.
Yep.
My comments at this time, or do we need a motion and approval first?
yes, if you would, please.
Then I'll make the motion to approve as submit.
Support?
And with those, time for some comments.
Absolutely.
So I think that it's laid out pretty well for the exception from our administrator, Kyle Mucha. I think it's a pretty reasonable process that RWL and the client's gone through for mitigating that light intrusion on the west, as well as balancing that with the visibility east and west. I'm really not seeing any issues with this. Are there any other comments?
Just so the rest of the council knows, I'm going to be voting absentee on, or I'm going to abstain on this, mainly because obviously last name is familiar. He is my son. Also, the company he represents is my customer. I am not going to directly benefit from this at all, but I think in, being upfront and transparent, I'm going to abstain on this vote.
Thanks, Carl. Well, Mr. Mucha has done a lot of background work and put together some of the hardships that is facing it if we enforce the current sign standard on it. So the staff is recommending a motion of support for approval of the variance for 108 West Highway Street. We have a motion and support. If there's no further questions, we'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Abstain.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Cox.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes.
Thank
Success.
you all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Keller.
Appreciate it.
You can stay and watch democracy in action if you would. Well, you feel government.
All right, so hearing that, we've succeeded in our mission in the zoning board of authority. Entertain a motion to close this.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We'll move back to our regular council meeting. So we have several action items in front of us tonight. First one I'll let Jim discuss, but stage right.
Yes, this is, we used 2 stages during the Berg Days events. And the original stage, the best guesstimate is it's at least 25 years old. It was handmade. And just simply, it's unsafe to put people on. Probably everyone here has noticed where there's times that the band is loading up or before, and kids are jumping on it. And so this stage is the same identical stage that we ordered in 2023. So DPW will be very familiar with the setup and takedown, but it also combines and works to expand. Like May 17th is our next downtown event where we'll only have 1 stage on a Saturday, and it is a Bob Seger tribute band, which needs an expanded stage. So it fits in that. The company working with, it's actually only, I think, $300 more they're charging us than they charged us in 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. So pretty pleased with that. And we're going to purchase this out of our Parks and Rec fund, because we envision in the lifespan of this stage it being used not only for the out under the pavilion, but potentially as we move into the future in one of our parks possibly as well. So, and we have money within the budget.
Well, the staff is recommending motion to support and approval of the village manager to purchase a 12x16 stage from Stage Right with a price not to exceed $7,695.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Any further discussions or questions of staff?
Glad that we're getting another good quality stage and we can get rid of the older one that has definitely served its time.
Speaking of which, the stage the old one, is that a wooden stage? Is it a metal stage?
It's a heavy metal stage, single one piece, welded together.
The reason I'm asking is because I had mentioned to you a week ago, the Lions Club, we use a stage for the B&B that's made out of 4x8 boxes that are probably 250 pounds a piece that are put together. So we were looking for hopefully a little less heavy alternative to use, because like everybody else, we're getting older and it's getting harder and harder to take those sections out of the semi-trailer. So you think though that it's not worth the time and messing with it?
I think it needs substantial work underneath it to get it back balanced, and it's, I mean, we move it with our largest piece of equipment with forks, yeah, where the 5 of them can't pick it up.
So it's not in sections, it's one piece?
It's one
Okay,
piece.
that's it, thanks. That would be worse.
It would be weird. We have a motion to support. Would you do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Fields.
Yes.
Trustee Cox.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger.
Yes.
Trustee Reister.
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller.
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. So 12B, J. Allen and Company, staff is recommending the motion to support approval of the village manager entering into a contract with J. Allen and Company to add asphalt cart paths to Angels Crossing.
Correct. We put out competitive bids. We did receive 3 bids. I want to make note, One of the bids, though, only was for 2 inches of asphalt, and we asked for a bid to be 2.5 for durability and length. So this is for to authorize the village manager to enter into a contract with J. Allen and Company. Specifically, you can see where it will add a cart pass around the 3rd hole, including in back of the green, the 7th hole, approach of the 7th hole green, and the entire 8th tee box, 8th hole tee box, and extending up to where some cart paths already head up into the fairway of the 8th green. This is kind of phase 2 of what we laid out as a 4-phase project to update cart paths, and of course asphalt's pretty expensive. I would like to highlight there is no municipal tax dollars being used on this. It is from the golf course revenue and savings that we have.
So we have a request to enter into an agreement with J. Allen. What this council's desire.
Make a motion to approve.
Support?
We have motion and support. Any further questions or comments? Well, as I had said earlier, that it, as long as we can reinvest in this business, and it is a business of the villages, if we have the money to put back into it for improvements, it's only gonna take us, to a greater good in the end.
Jim, you mentioned this is phase 2 of 4. As a newbie, do you have those phases that I could review?
I can get them to you, I don't have them by memory.
Of course.
And it's basically when we originally had the golf course superintendent working with the general manager outline areas they felt cart paths were needed. It was $450,000 to $500,000. So we were not comfortable moving forward. We kind of had them reduce some areas. So over the 4 years, we're looking at about $225,000. But yeah, I can get that to you.
Thank you, sir.
Just general comment, I was at a dinner at Christmas time for business-related purposes in Chicago, and their family has property actually in the area, and he goes to Angels Crossings all the time, and was just singing its praise. So, yeah, indeed, this is a Midwest gem, apparently.
I think it was just ranked the 22nd best course in the state, somewhere in that. It's humbly close to arrogant as I can say, but the opening was there.
Well, we have a motion request and support. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call. Kristen?
Trustee Reister?
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee Fields?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
President Frisbee?
Yes. Motion carries.
The next one involves our RFP that we put out for a Parks and Rec, a comprehensive master plan update for Parks and Rec. We did have 3 council members involved. We had narrowed it down to what we felt were the top 3 companies with proposals and had interviews with all 3 companies. We are recommending the motion, support, and approval for the village manager to enter into a contract with Manning Smith Group that will provide the professional services to develop the Village of Vicksburg's Park and Recreation Master Plan. Contract is valued at $19,220. We anticipate with public input and the whole entire process that our goal would be hopefully by the end of the calendar year to have this in final draft and presentation format to the council. And be happy to answer any questions, or Trustee Fields, Kissinger, or Cox were involved in the process as well.
Well, we have a recommendation by staff to enter into an agreement with Manick and Smith.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion?
When is this gonna begin, if this passes immediately? or-
We'll contact the company tomorrow and set up an initial kickoff meeting with staff. When we did it for the branding, it was within 2 weeks, we had that kickoff meeting, so hopefully it's the same.
I'd just like to say, I've been on Parks and Rec now going on 5 years, and I think the master plan that we were working on, was it 2015? Yeah, so we were overdue for this. I appreciate Jim allowing the 3 of us, former Parks and Rec members, to interview with this group. I think it's a really exciting time to be on Parks and Rec. I look forward to seeing how this process plays out and what we come up with for a master plan for this.
It was kind of fun to be on this call with my fellow council members. Jim, Jackie was pulled from the bench. I'll always say that because that's how Jim says it when he mentions Jackie. And we kind of all came in as a cohesive group, had good questions, and were able to really pull out just the beginning things, like 30,000-foot view from all 3 of these companies. And this company definitely presented the best, and their work speaks for itself too. They have some great work that they've worked with in Michigan, and they, I believe Jackie let us know, they are one of the biggest companies out of the 3 as well. So they do have a bigger footprint as well as local presence too.
Well, I'd like to thank Trustee Fields, Trustee Kissinger, and Trustee Cox, and Jim for inviting him in to, get the group's opinion on it and have an opportunity to be involved in the decision-making. So ultimately, it comes down to this decision now. We have a motion and support. We'll, barring any further questions or comments, we'll do a roll call.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Cox,
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller,
Yes.
President Prisby.
Yes. Motion carries. So we move on to village administration, administrative staffing.
Yeah, coming out of the strategic planning session that we had with the village council, as well as internally examining what could add to accomplishments in the next fiscal year, what type of positions, and so we're putting 2 of those positions in front of the council tonight. That we would look at having on staff, if approved, within a couple weeks to start these process. They're both part-time positions without benefits. We certainly will follow the new PTO legislation that would impact. But the first position is one that would be 10 hours per week. And when I talk about the hours, it's kind of a not to exceed. So not every week would be 10, but 10 hours a week to coordinate social media, communication, the community calendar, assist with event planning, assist with the branding endeavor where it parallels that tracking for the next year. In that position would have an annual investment of $12,000 per year. It will be a general fund position, so the general fund would invest in that position. And the second position is a data entry position, which will help lead the effort to digitalize historic village documentation and assist with customer service, utility data and input, and eventually with Angels Crossing accounts payable if it moves in that direction. And that is a 20 to 24 hour a week position. With an annual investment of $23,000. Initially, that also will be a general fund position. We're hoping in the 3 to 4 month range, if it goes well and does consume some of the workload that comes from Angels Crossing, we might reevaluate that if it's a significant time to charge off to Angels Crossing some of that. But I'll be happy to answer any questions on either position. And then I have comments of the budget process coming up with an additional position I see us making that as part of the budget that will be a full-time benefited position, predictably not to start till July 1st, but I'll explain that after
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on this position with Jim? Everybody on?
Jim, if approved, when is it gonna take effect immediately, or?
The two part-time positions, I'll make offers of employment tomorrow, and then it'll be upon when they can add it to their current duties and other work, but I would envision, if not right away, within 2 weeks, for sure.
Thank you.
No further discussion? Entertain a motion or a roll call, please?
Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger?
Yes.
Trustee Reister?
Yes.
Trustee Fields?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
President Frisbee?
Yes. So the last item is a village manager. We're requesting a motion of support for the village manager to sign an agreement, sign the title for the nation's title for the industrial lot we purchased.
Sold.
Excuse me.
To MCM.
Sold. Yes. And I know we've done it before, but the title company just wanted to get it current.
Yeah, specific to the action we'll take with them.
Right. What is this council's desire?
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion?
Do we have that specific language that's needed? Do we want to?
It will we'll have it all, per the, Attorney Lance Orloff, it will list the specific title company, it'll list that the village manager has the authorization from the council to enter into this sale agreement with MCM.
Okay,
And close it out, close the.
perfect.
Well, we have motion and support. Barring any further discussion, do a roll call.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Kissinger?
Yes.
Trustee Fields?
Yes.
President Pro Tem Keller?
Yes.
Trustee Cox?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner? Trustee Reister?
Yes.
President Frisbee?
Yes. So as the last item on our action list, we'll turn it over to Mr. Mallory, give an update on a few things.
Yeah, pretty good event Saturday. Absolutely no incidents, and quite a number of trustees were down. I saw as well, but young families enjoying the festivities. We did announce on social media. We counted up the votes today. Lou's Market in Delhi won the soup contest. And the ice sculpture was the sculpture in front of Zoja Beauty with the flowers in it. Had pretty much universal feedback from our retail establishments, and that's how we attempted to design the ice sculptures, was right next to a retail establishment that was going. Very positive comments on business downtown and ultimately revenue, so that was nice to hear, as that's one of our main focus as we move forward. I'll get the exact data on attendance throughout the day in time for the next meeting to report back on. But yeah, it was a positive event. I'd like to really recognize Department of Public Works, as they were prepping a full week before the event, because with tents, you have to have all the snow removed from all of Oswald Park and other items to prep, and they just did a great job, and they're excellent as always. But be happy to answer any questions about Iceberg. We did have an initial debriefing with the group that's been meeting, had a lot of great suggestions that we'll track and move, but we certainly look at the third Saturday of February in 2026 as a return of that event, and who knows, maybe we can keep adding tents and everything else downtown. So second item is we're prepping internally the 25-26 budget. we'll be putting a schedule out, tied to the council meetings of what subject matters will be at what council meetings. But be looking for, as in past years, I'll be scheduling one-on-one contact with everyone from the village council and planning commission to have input, and we'll be scheduling, trying to work with some neighborhoods to schedule some public Zoom to get input from citizens. Part of the process I did want to highlight is looking at, we're at the point, I believe it is a wise investment to add a police officer to the force, full-time officer. In the profession, it's very difficult to find part-time officers just due to the hiring situation that the profession has right now. But that will be presented, I believe, the third or fourth Monday. We have 2 in a row in April. Third and fourth Monday. One of those will be a comprehensive presentation on the police department, but I wanted to give a heads up that it, as we sit right now, I expect to be presenting an additional officer to be added. So other than that, I am going on vacation here over the next little bit. I'll be remoting in at the first meeting in March, and then I'll be back for the third week of March. And then, so.
Any other questions of Village Manager Mallory?
Well-deserved vacation.
Yeah. Amen. Takes us to committee reports. Any updates on trees?
Yes, we just had our meeting and we're gearing up for spring. Gave a blurb again to be put in the water sewer bill in March, and asking people to respond, and that worked very well last year. And so, and we're also going to be getting like water bags, et cetera, to the people who already have the trees. So we're in the process of working toward this spring.
Parks and Rec is still on the holiday? Cats is this coming Wednesday, so there's no update. Planning Commission?
The Planning Commission did not have any actionable items, but we did have the Housing Director of Kalamazoo County, Mary Bolkema, come in and give a presentation on the overall housing status of the county, which there is, I would say, a shortage of houses. Some of the top-level highlights, there's over 1,000 people in our county that are homeless. And also, she did mention that building with a little bit more density in mind, so building things at duplex and above levels are kind of needed for our community as a county, at least on a county level. And that's about it.
Thank you, sir. South County Sewer meeting is tomorrow, so we'll have an update next time. And Carl, thank you for being at the last fire board meeting. I think you have some comments you'd like to share.
Yeah, thank you. Had a meeting last week. First of all, I want to thank Jim. Huge amount of thanks for all the work he did on putting together the budget. I know that the council, the last meeting that I wasn't here, approved it, so I was able to report to the authority that Vicksburg did approve it unanimously. And Schoolcraft Village also approved it, so they're good to go. The roof, the bid for the roof over at Station 2 here in town is going to be first part of next month. I think the documentation was sent out last week, and they have so many weeks to send in clarification questions or whatever. So looking forward to getting those back. I know had invited Jim to, I think you were going to try to zoom in on that meeting in March to kind of go over the narrative, because he put together a nice budget narrative, which he always does for us. And I think it's would be very good for them to kind of hear, you know, the rationale how he did things. So he's offered to do that for us. Brady Township status with them is still as it is. They had no report. They're still in talks with Pavilion, so that hasn't changed. Going through here real quick. There was a statement that was made by Don Alsh, he was in the crowd, that they had the supervisors meeting, they had a battalion chief or assistant battalion chief from Oshtemo Township was at their meeting, discussing a possibility of looking at a county-wide authority, which I spoke with Manager Mallory. He said that they'd been talking about that for 10 years, so that's not really new. It's just, so that kind of got everybody a little stirred up. The big news that happened was that Waukesha announced that they were exploring leaving the authority, which really didn't surprise me. I had kind of heard through the grapevine that Climax at their village council was discussing it 2 weeks prior in an open meeting. So evidently this has been down the road a little bit. It looks like we may go from an authority of 6 down to an authority of 4. So that's okay. I know the concern with Waukesha was that there was going to be basically a DMZ between us and them, but really it wouldn't change anything. So I think they figure they're going to get better coverage potentially with going with Climax. So they're exploring that. Next month they're supposed to come back to the board and let them know whether they are going to proceed or not, because if they wait till after April 1st, that's our fiscal year, then they are on the clock for a whole new calendar year before they can make a decision to leave. An authority can't leave anytime they want. It's April 1st is when they're leaving. So both Brady and Waukesha will know about next month. Having said that, everybody got a copy of the correspondence from Attorney Rolfe in your packet. I got it as well before I went to the meeting. I've been very quiet on what I've been hearing from different entities that have been said in public. One of the things that the attorney wrote, and we had made a decision that because Mr. Rolfe represents 2 of the entities in the authority and also the authority, that was not acceptable. So he sent this letter out explaining, that this really isn't a good idea, which we understood. But there was a line he had in his letter, it was paragraph 2, and I'm going to quote, I recently become concerned that the interests of the various municipal members of the authority may no longer be well aligned as they seem to have been for most of the authority's existence. When I read that, that took me back a little bit. And then there was a prepared statement that was read by Waukesha last week, which I have a copy of, which I can give to Jim after the meeting. He can put in the minutes. This was read by the township supervisor from Waukesha. It says, Waukesha's township concerns in the best interest of our residents stem from issues related to the direction of recent governance, a lack of trust in the authority's board of decision-making process, a disregard for the authority's governing agreement, and a misalignment between the board's vision and ultimately what is in the best interest of Waukesha Township for the future. Words are different, meaning's the same. When the previous chair of the authority was stepping down in October, it was said publicly in the meeting that the current climate of politics, and I'm paraphrasing what was said then, this was written down, so this was their statements. And then when the township supervisor from Brady announced that they were looking to leave, a similar vein was made, that there was basically the current climate of the board was not acceptable. I have been quiet through all this. I have not said anything publicly tonight. I want to let the taxpayers, the residents of Vicksburg know, and this council, that I represent the taxpayers of Vicksburg and this council. When I ask questions on that board, I am asking on behalf of them and you. And I am directed on behalf of them and you. You have heard me say over the last couple of years that things, could be improved. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to make systems better. This has nothing to do with the firefighters at all. They do an excellent job. This is more about how the authority, the governing board improves on our systems. So it upset me over the last couple months to hear this because it's out there in the public. It hasn't been pushed back on. I'm just setting the record straight that when I ask questions or another member asks questions, we're doing it for a reason. I'm not doing it as, Carl Keller, public citizen. I'm doing it as a representative of Vicksburg wanting to know. So, anyways, so that's my report. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Thanks for that. And while we're on the subject of the fire authority, I want to wish Chief Tracy McMillan a speedy recovery. Some of you may know he's been in the hospital for over a week now. He's on the mend, but we all saying a prayer for him. So get well soon, Chief. With that, we'll run to we have time for citizens' comments. If a citizen would like to comment on any item, non-agenda, or seeing none, we'll go to trustees' time. I'll start with Trustee Fields.
In regards to Saturday and the Iceberg Festival, the fact that the weather cooperated so nicely after a week of 0-degree temperatures, the sun came out just for us, and it was amazing to see so many people out, so many young families. There were so many strollers. It was really great to see that. Just glad that everything came together so well, and it's just another event that Vicksburg can kind of shine at.
Trustee Wagner.
Unfortunately, my family was not able to attend the Iceberg, but all of the comments I did receive were glowing. The folks that I talked to had an exceptional time, so we really sorely missed it, but when you've got a young child, your schedule is not your own. So, and in regards to the comments from members of the fire authority, I'd just like to go on the record and say that I sincerely hope that the tone of the authority that we're all members of and represent doesn't have anything to do with the recent urges for accountability, transparency, and modeling best practice, because if any of those are issues with the member authorities which are not enjoying the current climate, then I challenge them to look within, and I certainly hope those are not the reasons that they're making those decisions. That's it for me this evening.
Trustee Reister.
Well, I just wanted to say that last Saturday was an absolutely wonderful day. I really enjoyed actually watching Brian Penny and his magic, and that was incredibly well attended when I was there. And it was all young, lots of young children, and he interacted so beautifully with them. So it was so much fun. Went into some of the businesses and talked to them, and they were just very excited about all of the traffic they were getting. Wonderful sales that day. So I'm just really pleased that we could do that for our people downtown and for all of our community.
Trustee Cox.
I just want to say thank you, Carl, for the report with the fire authority and your diligence of hanging tough and doing what you're doing. We appreciate that, and me as a new trustee just learning what's going on, I appreciate your diligence. Related to the Fun Fest this weekend, I was also not able to attend, but I've heard just amazing things, and it's exciting to see the momentum that continues to build. We know that we are becoming known as a community of events and fun and community gathering. I look forward to continuing to build that momentum, to continue to bring families and just a culture that is going to be positive. It's good stuff.
Thanks. Trustee Kissinger.
I will talk about Iceberg Fest as well. My family did make it down, and we did our tasting. I will not mention who we voted for. I don't want to anger any business people, but everyone was very generous with their portions for giving. I would mention I would have liked to vote for a dessert because the desserts were amazing, and when I realized I couldn't vote for them, I was a little upset. But it was super fun. I want to commend Jim and staff. Like he said, the DPW, kind of the unspoken heroes of that. And like Trustee Cox said, we are becoming known for a village of activities and events. It was beautiful, but it was still cold, and there were still, honestly, when I was there were hundreds of people there, just in the tent area. The tents were packed, and so it was very cool. So also want to commend the local businesses that participated. They all did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thanks. Trustee Keller.
Well, I've said enough, I think, but I was not at the Iceberg Festival, unfortunately, and I apologize for my attire. I've been Captain Sweatpants for the last 3 weeks, so my incision is not quite where I feel comfortable putting pants on yet. So, but from what I heard, it was a very good turnout, and I missed it. I wish I could have been down there, but next year.
We'll give you a pass. You stepped up Wednesday night and went to the fire board meeting, and I was ready to take your place, but you stepped up and took it on. I appreciate it. I'll ditto everything y'all said about everything, the community, the fire board. If you ever want to question why we're doing this, events downtown, just ask one of the business owners. They'll tell you, this is the best thing for them. It's just, I'm sure you all do, but just going out and dropping in and talking to each one of them as you can, and the positive feedback that we get. Some of them struggle in the winter. It's hard to maintain a clothing business or a bookstore in the middle of 9 degrees outside. So when we pull these events off, it just means the world to our community. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.